So I say thank you.
Love that. Hold on one second. Sarah's in the waiting room. So here comes Sarah. One more. Tell me something good.
Good morning, John.
Oh, sorry.
You go, Melissa.
I was just going to also piggyback off of what everybody is saying, just the ripple effect of positivity that stems from this call. And ironic that Sarah just joined. John, you've inspired so many of us and all of us in such big ways. And for me, I mean, I was in a completely different industry last year, and I never dreamed, after COVID, I lost my job, but I never dreamed that my reality now was possible for me. And I'm just so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful for the people that I've met through this exact call. It's changed my life. And it's just, I never dreamed that all of this was possible, and it's just the beginning. So I'm just so grateful for the ripple effect of positivity that stemmed from this exact call.
Great job, Melissa. We're proud of you. We really are. Your future is bright, I promise. Sarah, talk to us.
Hey, good morning. Man, I have so many good things to share. Like yesterday was just like so full of amazement. Just the inspirational morning was amazing. The cultural icon for the South Florida region. I'm so intrigued by her. I want to learn more, and just was so inspired by everyone that was honored and everyone that was featured. And just, I keep saying, the more I learn about Keller Williams, the more I fall in love. But now I'm like, oh my goodness, the more I learn about the Waxman Group, the more I fall in love. Just an amazing, the culture is awesome. I have a big announcement, but I'm not going to make it until it's official later on today. So that'll have to be for tomorrow. But just, there's just so much to be grateful for, being part of the Waxman Group, being part of Keller Williams, the culture, the community that binds us together, that we have opportunities, the amazing leadership we have, just every regardless of, and I could dwell on, oh my gosh, this, no. We are so fortunate. We are so lucky. We're so lucky that God allowed us to stumble into each other and to stumble here together. And I am so looking forward to the conversations at the beginning of 2022 about how awesome 2021 has been. And I'm so excited to be on the journey with not just you, John, but everybody on the call, my dream champions. And I'm waiting for, Melissa's going to write a book called How to Put Jeans on a Bike.
Should we tell? Oh, no. I was just saying that
I'm buying that book. I am absolutely buying that book.
We'll have to tell that story one day. I was just saying how grateful I am for Sarah for showing up to a situation that I really just needed help with. And it was just like a lesson in concierge service with this previous transaction I had. And yeah, it's a fun story. We'll have to tell it one day.
Yes, we should have taken pictures.
I did.
Super cool.
So before we get started, I want to share gratitude for Sharon Edelman, who is the culture icon for the South Florida region. And I am honored, have had the honor to be in business with Sharon, as she is an agent in the Coral Springs Market Center. And yesterday's inspirational morning was just so powerful, and the stories that were shared were incredible. And it was just, it was a gift to be able to be in the room in Coral Springs with 20 agents. We're all live people. That was great. And to celebrate together this amazing individual and everything that she has done. So Sharon, if you see this, the recording, we're all very, very proud of you. All right. I think I've already hit record. I did, and I'm on page 43 of The One Thing. For those of you following along at home, if you want to get your book out, let's get started. So we're going to talk about multitasking this morning. And Gary shares at the top of the page on page 43, if doing the most important thing is the most important thing, why would you try to do anything else at the same time? How many of you guys are great multitaskers, right? Or was there a time that we talked about, I'm a great multitasker? As a matter of fact, we put it on our resume. It would be one of the reasons why you should hire me, because I'm great at multitasking. And what we've learned is it's actually a myth. We're not great multitaskers. And on page 44, Gary goes on to say, at the bottom of the page, multitasking is neither efficient nor effective. In the world of results, it will fail you every time. When you try to do two things at once, you either can't or won't do either well. Multitasking is merely the opportunity. This is really good. Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. How many of you resonate with that? Raise your hand, thumbs up. Me, yes. Top of page 45, the concept of humans doing more than one thing at a time has been studied by psychologists since the 1920s. The term multitasking actually didn't arrive on the scene until the 1960s, and it was used to describe computers, not people. Interesting. Multitasking is about multiple tasks alternately sharing one resource, the CPU, in computer language. But in time, the context was flipped and it became interpreted to mean multiple tasks being done simultaneously by one resource, a person. It was a clever turn of phrase that's misleading for even computers. Let me say that again, because I forgot the comma. Important. It was a clever turn of phrase that's misleading. For even computers can process only one piece of code at a time. When they multitask, they actually switch back and forth, alternating their attention until both tasks are done. You want to try this at home? Try doing this. Count from 1 to 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Boom. Now, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Now try 1A, 2B, 3C, 4D, 5E, 6F. I guarantee you the time is actually, it's going to take you longer to do both at the same time than it would to do one and then switch to the other. Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. People can actually do two or more things at once. So it is possible, such as walk and talk, or chew gum and read a map. But like computers, what we can't do is focus on two things at once. Our attention becomes back and forth. So I'm going to pause there for a moment. I'm going to ask you guys, have you ever been on the phone talking to somebody and you're walking, or you're working around the house and you're cleaning, or you're doing other tasks at the same time that you're having a conversation? Now think back to the last time that happened when the conversation all of a sudden became real and it was a difficult conversation. What did you do?
Focus.
Pay attention.
Slow down.
All of
Stop
those are true.
walking.
Stop walking.
Mhm.
Stop and
Matter of
talk.
fact, stop walking
Stop
immediately.
walking.
In
Mhm.
your tracks, wherever you're at, stop walking, because that's taking attention away from the conversation. And all of a sudden that conversation needs all of your attention.
Mhm.
As a matter of fact, if it was real, you possibly found a chair and you sat down. And if you couldn't find a chair, you sat down on the ground. Or you got down on one knee and you just laser focused on the conversation.
Mhm.
How many of you have been in the car driving? You're on your way to a destination, you're listening to the radio, you're listening to music, and all of a sudden you realize you're lost. And what do? Turn the radio off. Because you can't listen to the music and find your destination at the same time. You can close your eyes, but you can't close your ears. You can't choose to focus that noise out of your environment. So you turn the radio off. How many of you have been driving with someone else in the car and you're having a conversation with one another and all of a sudden the conversation got real? What do? Pull over. Stop. Pay attention to the person that you're talking to, because you can't drive and have that conversation. I'm going to take a break right there. Talk to me. What are you hearing?
It's like, John, when you say to yourself, oh, I'm going to fold laundry while I watch this movie. And then you're like, oh, wait a minute, what just happened? And you're like constantly rewinding to like see what you missed, because you can't focus on two things at the same time. And I have to admit that, when I started lead generating, I really had to concentrate and on one thing, because my mind would want to like jump to other stuff, because I'm so used to being all fractured and I mean, I was really like mentally tired after the first few times, I mean quite a few times of lead generating and paying attention to one thing.
100%. Yep, you're absolutely right. And for everybody on the call that's married, try this. You have a partner in your life or one of your children. You're sitting on the couch watching TV. I'm going to use Valerie's example. And your spouse or your child walks into the room and wants to talk to you. And you just keep looking at that TV and you're not paying attention. Now, Monica's sitting on the other side of the house. She's going to go, that's true. And you're still looking at the TV, watching the football game, and yet the person who's talking to you is going to say something like, you're not listening to me. And your response is, yeah, I am. What are they telling you? They're telling you you can't do two things at one time. You can't watch that football game and listen to me.
Yeah.
Now, thank God for modern TV, because we can actually hit the pause button
Yeah.
and get back to the game after we have the conversation. But think back 20 years ago when there was no pause button.
Mhm.
Now I have to make a decision. What's more important, the person I'm talking to or the football game I'm watching? Because I can't do both at one time. Michael Topo shaking his head going, oh my gosh, truth, truth, truth. Yeah. All right, bottom of page 45. It's strange, but somehow over time, the image of the modern human has become one of a multitasker. I like this quote. We think we can, so we think we should.
Like that little engine that could.
Right? Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something.
Yeah. I admit I'm an ex-multitasker.
Yeah. There we go. And Sarah, if you're anything like me, you're what you actually are is you're a recovering perfectionist. You are a work in progress. So I'm an ex-multitasker. I love that as an affirmation. However, does that mean you never multitask?
No, it doesn't mean that I never multitask. It means that I've learned when I learned to be present. I have learned to be 100% present, and multitasking is not effective. And I'll use when your call was at 8 a.m. in the beginning, I would be making breakfast or making coffee while I'm listening to the call. Was I 100% present? No. And then after reading the one thing and having that question, what is the one thing that if I did that, it would make everything else easy or unnecessary? And I was looking for like a massive, massive thing. And one of the really tiny things was be 100% present. And
Yeah.
that kept resounding. And I started practicing that on this call. And I said, okay, I'm going to be 100% present on the Survive to Thrive call, and I'm going to see what changes. And what changed was that I was getting so much value. I was understanding so much, learning so much, and really able to understand that I had homework to do. Because I was 100% present, not because I was trying to make coffee while listening to the call or drink the coffee or make the breakfast. And that was so huge when I discovered it, but it was just a really simple thing that led to so many others. So it was, there are things that I do. I mean, like I can knit and watch a video because that's such an automated response, right? Like it's muscle memory, right? But it doesn't require a lot of thought. But I've learned the difference between when I need to be a perfectionist and when I don't need to be a perfectionist. And perfectionist for me is, am I 100% present?
Good stuff, Sarah. All right, so listen to this. Researchers estimate that workers are interrupted every 11 minutes and then spend almost a third of their day recovering from that distraction. Now, if you're working 9 hours a day, a third of your day is how many hours?
3.
3.
So the average worker, including everybody on this call, including me, is losing how many hours of productive time every day to distractions?
3.
3.
Now, if you worked 250 days a year, that's 50 weeks times 5 days with 2 weeks vacation. That's 750 hours that you are losing in a year. Now, what is your productive time worth? Now, productive time as a real estate agent is time spent in lead generation. It's time spent going on appointments. It's time spent taking listings. It's time spent writing offers. It's time spent negotiating contracts. And I would tell you your productive time is worth somewhere between $150 and $200 an hour. Now, take 750 times $150. And that was a real challenge. Somebody do that with a calculator in front of them and tell me what the number is.
112,500.
Say it louder.
112,500.
So the average American real estate agent, you guys, me, are losing an average of $112,500 a year to distractions. How do you feel about that?
Ouch.
We have to make sure we don't let this happen.
Well, there you go, Camille. There you go. But on a giant piece of paper in front of your desk, someplace where you can see it, right? Distractions are costing me $112,000 a year.
Well, John, I flipped that around. If I lead gen 3 hours a day, I can make an additional $112,000 a year.
Well, Carol, how do you get an additional 3 hours a day in order to do that?
Stopping the distractions, no multitasking, and actually doing
There it is. There it is.
Yeah, and sometimes it seems like it's cold, but you have to do it. It happened to me yesterday. And when I answered, they said, "How are you doing?" I says, "I'm doing great." But I did not want to get off of what I was doing. And then the person said, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yes, I'm lead generating." And they just left me alone. So you have to be kind of cold, you know? You don't want to stop right there. So why allow someone to make you stop, you know?
There you go. Gary Keller, when I was a part of Gary Keller's mastermind group 15 years ago, one of the things that he said that has stuck with me to this day is when somebody would come up to him in his office in Austin, Texas, and they would say, "Gary, do you have a minute?" His response was, "No, I don't. And why do you?" His response was, "I'm in lead generation. And why aren't you?" Cold, harsh, truth.
Yeah.
John, even with that said, you lost a minute or two just because of that.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
never a minute, Eddie.
Yeah.
My response, and the agents, Michael can tell you, the agents in my office would tell you, imagine this, there's a script for this. When somebody would come up to me and say, "Got a minute?" my response would be, "Shirley, if it's truly 1 minute, then absolutely, yes, I do. However, my guess is this is going to take longer than a minute. So if it's okay, let me look at my calendar and let's block 30 minutes for you and I to sit down and have a conversation later today."
And also, you learn how to answer that question correctly when Mr. Jeff Booker gives you a call. If he calls and says, "Hey, you got a minute?" you better tell him, "Yes, I do," or "No, you don't," because no matter what, you're going to be in there for 25. Your brain's going to be full of knowledge.
So I'm going to translate that for everybody on the call. James just told you that the definition of a minute for Jeff Booker is 25 minutes.
And a notepad and a pen.
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
I love
Yes,
it.
sir.
I love it.
Yes, sir.
John, you've led by example by being super intentional in your lead gen time. I remember coming to your office and you are just locked in. And I know you see me with your peripheral vision through the glass. I know you do, but you are locked in, right? And in Bold, they teach us to kind of set up these boundaries, right? Like, lead gen zone, like this is not the time, right? Come and see me after. You always make time for us, John, when you're not in your lead gen kind of time. But like when I see you like that, I'm like, all right, I'll just catch them later because I already understand, right? And I think it's important that people around you need to respect and understand that time because that time is valuable. Essentially $112,000 worth of value.
Yeah. Thank you, Michael. Great perspective, by the way. And yes, I know you're there. Yes.
John, I think that the reason why we thought multitasking was such a great idea is the thought that I can squeeze one more thing in while I'm doing something else. For instance, instead of me being present listening to your call, I say, "Ooh, let me check an email real quick," because I'm going to take care of more than one thing at the time and really not understanding that it's actually costing me rather than saving me.
There you go. Even while we're having this conversation, my phone is sitting right here. It is on the table. In my peripheral vision, I can see I just got a text message. Now I can easily, while Valerie is talking, I can glance at my phone and go, let's see who that text message is from. That's doing two things at one time. But can Valerie tell that I'm not listening to her? Yes.
Yes.
She can.
I respect you for that, John. I've always noticed that.
Thank you, Karen.
You always focus on us. Thank you.
I appreciate that, Karen. Thank you.
John, why is it so hard to be 100% present? It's become increasingly more difficult.
Because we bought the lie. We bought that in this super connected age that you have to be constantly available, and that's where present comes in, and just one of the big things is people, we feel like we always have to be doing something or connected to something available for everything. And that's not true. And that's where you have to pause. And that's why meditation is so great, because you stop everything, even sometimes your own thought, and just focus on your breath. And that's, you know, the lie is that we have to be doing something and super connected and tripling, you know, multitasking to the max. And that's not true. We've been indoctrinated with that. It's a lie.
You have. And anybody who knows me can tell you that I got a master's degree in attention deficit disorder. In other words, I've got ADD to the nth degree. And my solution to fighting that ADD is to hyper focus on what I am doing in the moment. One of the best things that I ever heard about Michael Jordan, when his basketball coach was talking about him, basketball coach, Phil
Jackson.
Phil Jackson. And they asked Phil Jackson, what is Michael Jordan's greatest attribute? And his answer was, wherever he is there 100%. When he is on the basketball court, the only thing that exists in Michael Jordan's life is basketball. When he is spending time with family, the only thing that mattered is his family. Basketball didn't matter. So here's my interpretation of that. Take every part of your life and put it in a box. So you've got all these boxes. I want you to visualize this. And when you are working in lead generation, all of those other boxes go on the shelf. And they live there until you're done. You've completed the task that you're working on at the time. And then when you've completed that task, that part of your life goes in a box, it goes on the shelf, and you pull another box down off the shelf. Michael, how many times have you called me at 8 o'clock at night and I've answered the phone? Never. Because when I get home from work, what? Work? You want to talk about work? No. We can talk about work tomorrow. I'm done.
John, can I add one little thing? Because I know we're beyond our time. But in addition to everything, actually, I was going to piggyback on Sarah. We're also living in an age where instantaneous response is almost demanded, even though it's not required. And that is definitely, you know, the phone rings, we answer it. Before, it was never like that. So instantaneous response seems to be like almost like a social thing, you know, like it's become like our life.
Love it. And you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. So I've got this today, guys. Time to get to work. What's work? I want to be super, super clear. I've had a lot of conversations one-on-one with agents that I'm coaching. Work is 20 conversations, not 19, not 18, not 17. Absolutely true. If 20 conversations is your target. If 5 conversations is your target, then work is 5 conversations, not 4, not 3, not 2. If 3 conversations is your target, then work is 3 conversations, not 2, not 1. When I say set standards, turn your activities into non-negotiable standards, it's your activities, not mine. So what is work? Whatever number of conversations you have set as your standard for today, period. It's a standard. It's non-negotiable. And if that standard is 5 conversations, don't settle for 4. because you didn't have the fifth conversation, and the fifth conversation could have led to a listing, $1 million listing that you didn't get because you didn't have the conversation. Have care calls, not sales calls. Oh, this is important too, because I was having a coaching conversation yesterday and there was a lack of clarity around what a care call is. Care calls lead with gratitude. Always bring value to the conversation. Always ask, what can I do for you? And yes, it is a care call when you ask, by the way, who do you know that's looking to sell their house? Yes or yes?
Yes.
Yes. Find somebody today that is thinking of selling their home, whether it's 6 months from now, 30 days from now, or a year from now, doesn't matter, because a year from now, you're gonna need listings. And then enter all of those opportunities into your pipeline and follow up forever. Reject rejection, and no is not a word that lives in your vocabulary. No simply means not yet. Remember that people will not change their mind, but what they will do is make a new decision based on new information. And because you followed up forever, you're creating emotional proximity so that when Melissa gets serious about selling her home, she's going to make a new decision to hire me because I created emotional proximity. Make it a great day.
Thank you, John.
Thank you,
Thank
John.
you. Bye, everybody.
Thank you, John.
Bye-bye.
You.
Bye, everybody.
Love you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, gosh.
I heard that, James. That was good. That was good.